a resolution authorizing a resolution authorizing grants not exceeding $27,234,615 for the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing to certain nonprofits for the express purpose of constructing and rehabilitating affordable and or workforce housing. And we do have Councilmember Porterfield here.
Point of information first. Point of order.
Councilmember
First. You said 27 million, and what our document says is 26 million.
Oh, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, 26 million. Thank you for
just not going to add a million.
Yeah. We don't need to be just throwing out numbers, but thank you for that. So we do have the sponsor here. Let's get it properly before us. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Porterfield. First, let me ask, what is the nature of or what's the purpose for the late file of the amendment?
Thank you, Chair, and I'm going to defer to Ms. Hubbard with who's here with us today to also explain it, if you don't mind. But this is a housekeeping amendment to put some correct documents in the legislation. But if you are so willing, would love for Ms. Hubbard to be able to explain that.
Yes, Ms. Hubbard, if you could come forward and just introduce yourself to the committee for the record, even though I don't think the microphone's working right now. But yeah, if you could just introduce yourself.
Sure. Angie Hubbard, Housing Director, Metro Planning. First, please accept my apologies. I threw my mercy on you. I know late filed amendments are nothing we want. This was 6 of the exhibits to the legislation. We had a scanning error where only the odd pages made it in on exhibits D, F, H, I, J, and K. This doesn't change any of the information that Council had reviewed in committee yesterday. A summary of all the projects, how much money is going to, which nonprofits are going to receive awards, the amount of grant funds going, the number of units they're going to create, the council districts they're located in are all in the legislation. And then the first page of every contract, which was included in everything that was reviewed in committee, had the project addresses. So the pages that were missing have did not alter any information that was already approved in committee. And because all of the contracts are substantially in the same form, any of the other contracts, it's the same information going through. And then some of the attachments are just unique to those nonprofits, their financials and things like that.
Councilmember Johnson.
So if we were to, like, I get that's basically clerical, if we were to wait for this to be timely filed, so I would assume the underlying piece of legislation would be deferred, what would that cause?
So for some of them, because the Housing Trust Fund Commission has adopted a policy to be first money in, many of our nonprofits and several of these that are impacted use their Barnes Fund contract to leverage other funds. And then one of the particular projects, they're using the money to acquire property within the next couple of weeks. So this could impact their ability to close on the property.
Okay.
Any other discussion from the committee? Okay, we've seen the we've heard the reason for the late file, or for the nature of the late file. The motion is to approve suspension of the rules. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, it's been moved, properly seconded. We'll move to a vote for approval of suspension of the rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for suspension of the rules. And then do we need a subsequent vote on the...
Nope.
Okay, all right. Moving forward to bills on second reading. We've got BL 2024-476, sponsors Porterfield. Amends Chapter 2.112 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding the membership of the Metropolitan Nashville Arts Commission in the process for approving the criteria for awarding funds. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and properly seconded, and I will go ahead and recognize Chair Porterfield.
Thank you, Chair. I am in support of Councilwoman Sorora's amendment. Councilwoman Sorora did an amendment. Well, let me back. We had a specially called working group to look at this legislation, but also to have a conversation about through the budget committee, like when does it make sense to have more financial oversight, whether that's through like boards and commissions or departments. So we did begin that conversation. One thing that kind of came out of that conversation was there was concern that if there was a change to the process and grants, we did want to make sure that we were flagged on that. So Councilwoman Sorora brought a amendment that would bring to our attention in the resolution if there was a change that was made to the grant criteria. That is a friendly amendment that I stand in support of. We also had the conversation around when does it make sense to have a council member to serve on the board or commission. Councilwoman Sorora and Councilwoman Allen, I believe both of them asked Mr. Rosenberg with the administration if the special work group that's looking at boards and commissions could take up the issue of when does it make sense for a council member to serve on the board or commission. They said that they would take that up at their next meeting, and they will present that information back to the body. They did want to also make sure that the body was able to opine on that as well. Councilwoman Sepulveda may choose to have a meeting, or she's our representative on that board, so she would kind of determine on how that information flowed to us. But I don't think I don't want to speak on behalf of the administration, but I don't think they wanted to unilaterally tell us when there was a need for a council member on the board or commission, but it was a desire by the members for them to opine on it so that we could have that information. We also had a conversation on would it make more sense to put somebody on now, and then let's say in 2 months, 3 months, when we make this decision on which boards and commissions needed a council member, to then remove them if that was one of the commissions that didn't make the cut, so to speak. And the group thought that would be more disruptive. So they did think that it would be better for us to move forward without putting a council member on it. Let's have the overarching conversation, and then if it's determined that a council member is needed, we could do that collectively while we're looking at the other commissions. So with that being said, I do support the amendment, which did pass unanimously in budget. I do not support the substitute, which failed in budget.
Councilmember Johnston.
So I feel like there's a lot more discussion that needs to be had, right? So are we wanting to move forward with the bill itself, or are we obviously in budget, they put the amendment on. Did they move that forward to third reading, or are they?
Yes, so the legislation passed as amended. So the version of this legislation that I put forth is what we previously voted on and passed as a body. So Councilwoman Stiles had brought legislation, I brought an amendment. The amendment that passed is what I refiled. So what we are voting on is in essence what we already voted and agreed to as a body, but it got withdrawn, so now it got refiled. The only difference is Councilwoman Sorora saying, hey, if there's a change to the grant making process, that needs to be explicitly stated in the resolution. So the version that I have brought, it keeps the membership the same. It's not making a change to the membership. It is saying that if there are changes to the way that the Arts Commission disperses funds, we have to vote on that every year through a resolution, and they will bring to our attention if there was a change. That way it doesn't tie our hands, because with the substitute, the criteria will have to be provided to the Arts Commission in advance before it was filed, and then it will be a 3-reading ordinance. So if there were no concerns, it would still take, in essence, 4 meetings for the body to approve that. With us doing a resolution and highlighting if there's a change, if there are concerns, we can still do a deferral on the resolution if we so choose to. But if there aren't any concerns, we're able to move forward, and it doesn't delay the process, causing artists to have to wait to get funding.
Got it.
For clarification, the substitute was presented in budget but failed, correct?
Yes, the substitute was presented. Councilwoman Allen moved the substitute for the point of discussion. There were 0 in favor, 2 against, and 7 people abstaining.
Okay, I'd move approval of the amendment, or we have to move the amendment first, right?
Correct.
So I'd move the amendment.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting to amend amend the current bill. The bill as amended is currently before us. Is there anybody seeking recognition on this bill as amended?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, move for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're voting on the bill as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for approval of the bill as amended. Thank you. Right, moving on to board and commission elections. Candidates in this category will be subject to a recommendation vote by the Rules, Confirmation, and Public Elections Committee and an election by the Metro Council. First up, we have the Property Standards and Appeals Board. Consideration of nominees to fill one vacancy with a term expiring August 6, 2028, with an election to be held on September 17th, 2024 council meeting. First, we have the person nominated by Councilmember Jordan Huffman, John Bennett. Mr.
These individuals were here for interview at the last meeting.
Oh,
We're now
okay.
to the elections phase, so like we do with confirmations, unless there's something that y'all want to discuss, typically the committee would put these on a consent and move forward for election at tonight's meeting.
Oh, yes. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and place everybody on consent without objection. Okay, everybody's placed on consent. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of passage of all of these folks on consent, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting on consent.
And to be clear, it was items 12 and 13 that we did.
Correct. So yeah, I'll go ahead and read it into the record. So just passed on consent was the consideration of the Property Standards Appeals Board, the nomination of Quinta Martin by Councilmember Quante Toombs, as well as, I believe Jayla Thomas was withdrawn.
I don't have that information.
No, okay. Well, we'll go ahead and move forward with that one. And then for the
Wait a minute, isn't John Bennett on there too?
I already said John
I
Bennett
didn't hear
earlier.
it.
Yeah.
I need to turn my hearing aids up.
It's more than all right. And then item 13, the short-term rentals appeal board, consideration of nominees to fill one vacancy with a term expiring August 10th, 2028, with an election to be held today, September 17th, for Matt Ingram, nominated by Councilmember Aaron Evans, as well as Ramon Simmons, nominated by Councilmember Terry Bowe. All right, so now moving on to boards and commission appointees and nominees. Candidates in this category will appear before the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee to determine the relative qualification of the candidates. First up is the Auditorium Commission reappointment of Jerry Pentecost, who is here, may not be here, might need to roll his names.
Let me check this.
Yeah.
Here. Maybe move them to the.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and roll him to the bill. So moving forward to item 15, Civil Service Commission appointment of Jason T. Evans for a term expiring on March 31st, 2025. Mr. Evans? Yeah, if you'll just take a seat here. Would you like a bus pass or a parking validation?
I don't think I need either. I'm parked on the street, so.
Okay, fair enough. All right, just as a preliminary matter, are you currently a Davidson County resident?
Yes,
Okay, and do you serve on any other metro boards or commissions?
I do not.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about why you want to serve on the Civil Service Commission.
Well, so I've got some deep experience in both HR and human capital strategy. It's been a lifelong endeavor for me, both on the federal side and now on the civilian side. And I think that collaborating with the board, I could be of some use and some value in terms of policy oversight that pertains to human resources or human capital strategy.
I'm looking at your resume, it's quite impressive.
It is. Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate it.
and I think that you will be a tremendous resource. One of the questions that I do have for you is, especially with government service, Metro Nashville is, I believe, the largest employer of racial and ethnic minorities
Yes.
in the city. So, would you, are you, in your service, would you be committed to advancing principles of equity?
Absolutely. As you know, I come from a military background, and sometimes the military has served as an example for society when it comes to personal issues, to include diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I've got a lot of experience at the National Capital Region, working with all types of organizations and diverse groups of people. I was involved with the Army's integration of transgender. I was part lead on that policy, as well as the integration of women into combat roles as dictated by Congress, as well as policy on religious accommodations. So I'm well versed in the importance of diversity in organizations, as well as working with all types of diverse organizations and people.
That was going to be,
Yeah.
thank you, Chair, that was going to be my question. What your position was on gender affirming surgery for Metro employees?
I think it's a personal choice. I'm about the individual and the person. I grew up that way. My parents raised me about the golden rule, and as is treated everyone like you want to be treated. So if someone decides that's a choice, and if there's a policy that I'm responsible for, then that's what I'm behind.